Hello, and welcome back to the show. So, the first three episodes of Titans Season 3 were just recently released. This video has my initial thoughts and reactions after watching them. This is not a detailed nor a thorough review of everything that happened, just highlights and snippets that drew my attention. That being said, there will be plenty of spoilers, so consider yourselves warned.
Hi, Mom. I'm back.
I tend to focus primarily on characterization and casting, more so than plot, so I'll begin with that.
Doing out here?
Early on in episode 1, there's a long scene introducing a new kid. He's doing food delivery late at night on the mean streets of Gotham. As I'm watching, I'm trying to figure out where the show is going with this. Truthfully, he looks like a young Hispanic Kramer from Seinfeld. He's obviously a Batman fan. He's got a bat symbol on his bicycle. He defends Batman to the police that harass him. I'm thinking, okay, the show must be introducing a new character. He's Hispanic, right? Maybe it's Blue Beetle. That'd be kind of cool. About a minute before the big reveal of who he is, I think to myself, wait, could that be Tim Drake? Tim was a Batman superfan, but no, Tim's not really a Hispanic name. And then I noticed that his parents actually look to be a black dad and an Asian mom, so he is not Hispanic.
Now, Jerry, if you take a look at this, Black Tino, Black Asian, Hispasian, okay? Now, for the Asian subcategories, I got you, sister. We have Thai Negro, right here. That's you, Thai Negro.
Mistake on my part. So he could very well be named Tim. About 30 seconds later, after I had this thought, his cousin calls him Tim. Oh, I totally guessed it. Shortly before they told us, yes, but I'm claiming it as a deductive victory for myself anyway. I really don't mind them making the new Robin something other than a exact physical clone of Dick Grayson, like the comics always seem to do. It's already plenty weird enough that Batman has his whole teenage sidekick fetish. If you add that they all have to look the same, it gets even weirder. Like serial killer level weird. Fun fact, Jason Todd in the comics was actually a redhead. Originally, he dyed his hair to look more like the original Robin. Speaking of Batman's weird fetish for little boys, Commissioner Barbara Gordon calls him out on exactly this point in episode 2.
You know what he did to you, Dick. You almost lost yourself because Bruce weaponized your grief. He drove you away, and he put Jason in the ground.
Also included in this scene are mentions of Barbara having been Batgirl in the past, as well as getting shot and paralyzed by the Joker, just like in the Killing Joke comic storyline. I really don't like Ian Glenn playing Bruce Wayne. He's not really imposingly muscular enough, I don't think. He just doesn't fit. In fact, I really don't like that they've cast Batman at all. I thought it was much better when we never actually saw Bruce Wayne or Batman like they did in the majority of season 1. He's just too big of a character for such a small show to try to portray. Corey, aka Starfire, provides the B story while all the Red Hood hoopla is running on. She gets contacted by something with her powers going crazy. You know what? I don't care. It's boring. Skip it. Crypto the dog. In this scene, he finishes off the bad guy by cutting loose with a superpowered bark on command. I feel really bad for any squirrels or Amazon delivery men that happen to encounter the dog. I think Crypto honestly is kind of cheesy. Now, admittedly, this cheese can't be laid on the show. It originates with DC Comics. But they could have just not had the dog in the show at all. Now, side idea I got thinking about. Someone should invent a cryptocurrency called cryptocurrency with a K, like Crypto the dog, and then use the dog's image, then compete directly with the overwhelming cuteness of Dogecoin. Vincent Kartheiser playing the incarcerated Scarecrow, aka Dr. Crane. Dick Grayson visits him in Arkham after being told that the GCPD has been using him for his criminal profiling expertise. They say he's like the best they've had. I like this. I liked Kartheiser very much from his roles on Angel and Mad Men. Now, this whole scene, this whole concept, it could have been silly if he tried to play it at all over the top, trying to be sinister, talking about fava beans and Chianti, trying to Hannibal Lecter it up. But he was cool, he was chill, he played it straight, just having a conversation. He was interested in the topic and interested in talking to Dick. It worked well. Now, in the interests of intellectual honesty, I have to recuse myself from any kind of critique on Minka Kelly as Dove. I find her to be just so outrageously good looking that I think I couldn't possibly be objective about things like her acting, her portrayal, characterization, things like this. I'll just say that I enjoy her very much in this role. For the role of Hawk, Alan Ritchson is really great casting, which is surprising for me to say because he was such a complete swing and a miss on Smallville as Aquaman the last time he tried to portray a superhero. And here's what the problem was. I thoroughly hated Richardson the first few times that I saw him on my television. Initially, when he was really young, there was his appearance on American Idol. During auditions, he came across as a complete douchey himbo. Then he shows up on Smallville as Aquaman, and he really had the exact same vibe. He was just smiley blockhead dude. He really, instead of acting, just kind of smiled at the camera. Now, he actually grew on me a little bit a few years later when I saw him in Blue Mountain State about the college football team, playing Tad, the football team captain and main antagonist. Now, he was still very much a douchey blockhead for the role, kind of like his Aquaman role had a baby with Stifler from the American Pie movies, but unlike his previous roles, his douchiness was intentional and self-aware. He was actually acting and not just vacantly smiling at the camera. For his portrayal of Hawk, he plays it just straight up growly, angry, tough guy. He's not trying to get by doing the whole hunky smiley boy role. Rather, he's kind of a gruff asshole, and it suits him really well. Now, here's why I mention all this about Alan Ritchson. He's been cast as Jack Reacher for an upcoming TV series called, of course, Reacher. Per the Internet Movie Database, it's currently in pre-production. Unlike Tom Cruise's 5'0" short ass self, Richardson is actually amazingly good casting for Jack Reacher, who in the books is a physical monster. Plus, his acting has really improved from his Aquaman days. Just look at this comedic delivery.
Oh, Don tells me you rocked the bike shorts back in D.C.
Hey, those are pursuit and attack shorts, motherfucker.
My uniform, I do not wear the regulation uniform. I wear these shorts here. Hey, I'm out there in the streets every day. I gotta be able to move like a cheetah. Like a law enforcement cheetah.
I'm a stickler for good, believable fight scenes, especially in superhero shows. Titans, they do okay. Nothing unforgivably egregious. Then again, nothing spectacular either. So here's some notes and thoughts as I watched the first 3 episodes. Nightwing's big intro fight action in episode 1. He's got the Eskrima sticks. He's got them electrified, as Nightwing often will do in the comics. There's a brief sequence with some Wing Chun, Kali-esque trapping in the fight choreography, which I very much like to see. It seems like the actors actually had practiced a little bit. Weirdly, in this exact same scene that I refer to, his Eskrima sticks just magically disappear from his hands between one scene to the next, which is kind of weird. I'll forgive that just as wonky editing. Nightwing, he does end the fight with some showy, flippy, spinny kick garbage, something that you never see done in the real world. But I guess you could argue that Dick's an acrobat by training originally, so he has an acrobatic fighting style. And I can't complain too much. Daredevil Season 1, as brutally practical as most of the fighting was in that, Daredevil would occasionally end a fight by doing a big 720 flip spin, ending with a kick to the guy's face. So Hollywood likes doing that crap. Now, here's a weird moment. Red Hood, holding a long gun, is facing down a room full of crime lords. After delivering a nefarious ultimatum, one of the bad guys decides to call his bluff and draws down on Red Hood. Then this happens. Why draw the pistol? Why the transition? He was holding the rifle. The rifle was good to go. This pistol draw was needlessly complex and ultimately much slower. I see things like this more and more in shows nowadays, tactical maneuvers done for the sake simply of looking cool. Transitioning to your sidearm is definitely something to be proficient in. It's something to be practiced, but it's for very specific situations, like when you've run out of ammo, not just at random times, not just for shits. I found this scene annoying. Total swing and a miss. I applaud them for trying to incorporate Nightwing's acrobatics into the fight. They should do that as much as possible, but just really, really poor execution, poorly thought out. Flippy spinny shit in and of itself does not magically dodge bullets. His body is still occupying the same downrange volume of space as if he had just stood still. Those bullets would have hit him. The movement has to be lateral. The flippy spinny shit has to be out of the path of the incoming rounds. Do better. The next item addresses a particular pet peeve of mine. It falls under the category of stupid Hollywood Foley artists. I see this everywhere. TV shows, movies, it makes no sense. You've seen it too. It probably doesn't even register as an issue because it's so ubiquitously done, so ubiquitously screwed up. Watch this.
The one they'll run to when you let them down? Gotham. It's mine now.
Guns don't click when you point them. I've pointed a lot of guns. There's no click. Now here's what's at the root of the problem. First of all, Hollywood does not know dick about guns. Second, most westerns and cowboy movies involve people using single action revolvers. They will not go bang unless you manually cock the hammer. This makes a distinctive click sound, yes. Example.
Please, Dick, it's getting cold. I could have killed you, Dick.
The dipshit Hollywood Foley artists see scenes like this and internalize it somehow as all guns make clicky noise when you point them. One of the larger problems that has plagued Titans since its beginning is bad script writing. A lot of the lines and conversations come off very stilted and unnatural. People do not really talk like this.
Sounds like Jason went after him the same way he went after Deathstroke. Alone and unprepared. Jason never evolved. He never grew past his own worst instincts. Don't let that happen to you.
This is what happens when you write lines with the goal of servicing the plot. In other words, having people say what they say because the story needs it to be said in order for more story to continue. This leads to mischaracterization of the characters. It comes off as clunky and not believable. And the F-bombs. Okay, we get it. You're not on network TV. You can say fuck. It's not as bad as the first season where they just completely overdid it. But still, that's not how people talk. It doesn't really ring true. Fuck Batman. And just to illustrate my point, here's a brief montage of Dick saying fuck Batman whenever anything happens. Credit to the original poster.
Who are you?
Fuck Batman.
Everything led me here.
Fuck Batman.
To you. You're the boy from the circus.
Fuck Batman.
I love what the comics did with Jason Todd, turning him into the Red Hood. As far as adapting from the comic to the screen, I fear that I'm going to ultimately be a bit disappointed when all is said and done. It was just so damn rushed. We see Jason Todd get killed in the beginning of episode 1, then within, a few days, a week at most, he's red hooding it up, dropping bodies all over Gotham. In the comics, this took years. As these years in the comics were happening, it took decades in real life. He was resurrected by Ra's al Ghul in a Lazarus pit. Then he spent a long time being trained by the League of Shadows. So you had Batman's training as a base, and you had the League of Shadows training on top of this. By skipping over this, they've taken away an important facet of the Red Hood skill set. He was such a strong nemesis for Batman because he was trained over and above this Robin training by the League of Shadows. So yeah, very rushed. Another really rushed thing, the big Red Hood is actually Jason Todd back from the dead reveal. That occurred in episode 2. At that point, we'd seen Red Hood on screen 3 times? They really could have strung that out a little more and let some tension build, some suspense. Alright, another plot-based criticism. Just general gross mischaracterization of the Red Hood. In the comics, he is a vigilante. He's basically like the Punisher. He's not really a bad guy. He kills people, but they're all bad guys. Batman's whole point of contention that gets him on the trail of the Red Hood and inevitably leads to them facing off is the killing of bad guys in Gotham City. In the show, they have him becoming basically a standard DC crime supervillain. He endangers and harms innocent civilians. He takes over the Gotham crime syndicates instead of killing them. He leaves a bunch of Riddler-esque clues for the good guys to find him. He has an army of henchmen wearing thematic outfits. His devious plots have him using tricks and traps that the good guys have to race against time to foil. In making this change, the writers really changed a core fundamental part of Jason Todd. Now, here's what I think. I think they absolutely had to do it. They were forced to change this character after they found themselves completely written into a corner. Episode 1 has Batman off-screen executing the Joker after the Joker crowbars Robin to death. In other words, enacting vigilante justice. Now, I could rant endlessly about why Batman would not do that. This is complete bullshit, but I will let that pass for now. Doing this in the story forces the writers to alter the Red Hood's actions, because if they made him comic accurate, being a vigilante, Batman and the Titans couldn't exactly complain. He's just doing the same exact thing that Batman just did himself. The only way to avoid this glaring hypocrisy was for the writers to change Red Hood into a supervillain, which kind of sucks. I mean, Gotham's got enough of the standard DC supervillain. Okay, that wraps it up for now. Thanks for listening to me ramble for a few minutes. Be sure to like and subscribe to the video, and keep an eye out for more videos from NerdRagnarok in the future.